What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I have finally seen the last comic book film of 2025, that being of course Fantastic Four: First Steps, and boy do I have some thoughts. But here's the thing, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the film, feel free to watch this video, see if I can maybe help you make a decision on if you want to rush out and see it, wait a week or two. Of course, like I always say, it's just my opinion. I recommend you guys checking it out on your own. But with that said, let's get started talking about this film. And right off the bat, if Thunderbolts was like a giant step or two in the right direction, Fantastic Four: First Steps is a whole leap and bound in the right direction. I mean, I really feel confident after Thunderbolts, after Daredevil Born Again, and now this. I feel pretty confident in saying Marvel is back. I may need to see how, Spider-Man Brand New Day plays out, how Doomsday and Secret Wars obviously go, but at the moment, I'm feeling like Marvel's back and they're coming back swinging and quite possibly better than ever, because this might just be a top 5 comic book movie of all time. Just first and foremost, I mean, the casting is absolutely pitch perfect. I loved Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. I think she really is the heart and soul of this team. I know there were rumors that she was going to be the leader, or I think even the director, Matt Shakman, had come out and confirmed that Sue Storm was going to be the leader of the group. But watching this film, I didn't get that vibe at all that she takes over or that she is meant to be the leader of the film. In fact, I think each member of the team really contributes something in their own way. Sue Storm is very maternal. She can really take the lead at times, yes, and she can be a good companion to Reed and kind of help guide him and the other members of the family. But at the same time, I did never feel like she took over to the point where she was the main focus and it shortchanged the other Fantastic Four members. Also, I think they did a really good job of portraying a female character who's strong, capable, and determined, but also isn't condescending to her other teammates like we see in so many movies today, and B, they don't forget to make her actually feminine and actually give her a maternal reason, like with Franklin Richards, the child in this movie. They make everything that she does from this maternal protection that she has toward her child. So they make her motherly while also making her strong and capable and independent, which I really liked. And Pedro Pascal, I had my doubts at first, even going into this. I wasn't exactly sure how I'd feel about it, but a lot of the promo images, trailers, they were really starting to sell me, and I was like, actually, he could pull this off. I thought he did a fantastic job. He absolutely won me over as Reed. He's just as quirky, just as science-based as Reed is in the comics. I just thought he did an amazing job as this character, and I really can't wait to see more of him in the MCU. And then there's obviously Johnny Storm. The Human Torch has always been one of my favorite characters in the comics, and yeah, Joseph Quinn does an outstanding job as Johnny. I know there was, again, a lot of rumors about how he wouldn't be a womanizer in this film, and honestly, I don't think there is reason to panic. I don't think it's due to any sort of agendas or anything that the internet's telling you. In fact, I will get to this here in a second when I talk about the Silver Surfer, but I think the way that they portray the Silver Surfer is a reason why they can kind of give Johnny that comic accuracy of being a womanizer. And I'll explain that more later, make it make sense. But lastly, I'm just going to talk about Ben Grimm. Looks absolutely flawless in this film. I mean, he is the thing come to life. He looks so much better than, obviously, Fant4stic. Looks so much better than the first two Fantastic Fours, and especially the 94 version as well. Eban's voice just really carries, and obviously, he is the thing. I mean, he's a little more watered down. He's not quite as hot-headed as he is in the comics, but at the same time, it's still very much the thing that we know and love. The family just as a whole, it has some of the best chemistry I've seen from any superhero film, or any superhero team I should say, since Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, again, you really have to buy into the fact that this is a family that you would want to spend time with, and I could have just seen a 2.5-hour scene of them just at a dinner table, having banter, having conversations. It was just all so immaculately well done. And, I know, I think when they were casting for Fantastic Four, Kevin Feige was like, yeah, we're basically the important thing is chemistry with the team, and they absolutely have chemistry here. I just thought it was all so great. And then moving on, Julia Garner's Shalla Ball, Silver Surfer. I thought she was really good, and this is coming from somebody who was a little bit skeptical about this, who did want Norrin Radd, but I was also willing to give her a chance. I wasn't hating on it, and I thought she did a really great job. And kind of going with what I said about Johnny Storm, the reason why he doesn't feel maybe as much as a womanizer in this film is because he's not really put in that predicament to where, you know, you see Johnny Storm in the old Fantastic Four films from the early 2000s, where you see him before he gets powers and he's this hotshot guy and he gets all the ladies. You don't get that here. You get a Fantastic Four team that's well into being the Fantastic Four. And I think the way that they do Shala Bal is really good, in a way, really making this, you know, giving us the female Silver Surfer, because Johnny's kind of in love with her in this movie, and it's kind of played for laughs. And as a matter of fact, it was giving me vibes to, and y'all are going to know if you've read the comics, the Sue and Namor, the Submariner storylines, where Sue's kind of going after Namor, and it's kind of played for laughs, kind of serious at times. But yeah, that's really what it was giving me with Shala Bal and Johnny. And then obviously moving on to the big main bad, Galactus himself. This man is ripped straight from the comics. His presence is just so intimidating. He has a booming voice that just commands every scene he's in. It's like, I mean, I didn't go see this movie in IMAX, but for those of you that did, y'all can tell me how amazing it was, because I can just imagine it was absolutely fantastic. He is the Galactus from the comics. I mean, this is... He just is. There's no other way I can put it. It was brilliant. Brilliantly crafted. It is, I mean, no more Fart Cloud, and you'll know if you've seen Rise of the Silver Surfer. But yeah, I could just talk all day about how my little childhood heart could not stop beating when he was on screen, and I was like, this is what I've waited for my entire life. And, you know, just moving on to the world itself, that was one of the biggest selling points of this movie for me. And yeah, the 1960s retro futuristic, almost Tomorrowland-esque vibe. It just feels so stylistically different. It feels rich. It's compelling. I want to see more stories that take place in this world. It's very analog. It's very much the 1960s of the past, but when you have the smartest guy in the world like Reed Richards in that universe making all this technology, it just really complements very well, I feel like, that world with kind of the futuristic technology. And again, it just feels like something out of Tomorrowland. Maybe even, you know, honestly, I would even say I've heard a lot of comparisons to this being The Incredibles, and I even heard one person, I think it was Sean Chandler on YouTube, mentioned that it even had a little bit of Star Trek mixed in, and I feel like that's a perfect way to describe this film. It really does feel like Star Trek meets Incredibles, with obviously a little bit of that MCU flair thrown in for good measure. And yeah, moving on from that, this is a no homework required Marvel movie. So for those of you guys that don't keep up with the MCU like I do, or a lot of other hardcore fans, and you just go see them if they're really good or if they pique your interest, you don't have to watch or brush up on a single Marvel film before you go into this. No homework required once again. It takes place in a separate universe, stays that way for the entire film. Even the brilliant mid-credit scene, which I'll talk about here in a second in a non-spoiler manner, of course. But yeah, like even that, I mean, it has nothing to do really with the mainline MCU. It's completely standalone. You could almost argue just as standalone as, say, the Fox Fantastic Four movie, except obviously 10 times better than any of those. But yeah, kind of moving along here, I feel like this movie really complements Superman well. I know a lot of comic book fans were really going to wait to go see Superman when Fantastic Four came out and then go and see them back to back. In retrospect, and obviously there's no way I could have waited that long to see Superman, but I'm kind of jealous of them in a way, because they're getting two of some of the best comic book movies I've seen in years, back to back. And again, I think Fantastic Four is such a good complement to Superman, because this is just embracing everything we love about the comics of Fantastic Four. It's leaning into the wackiness and absurdity. Maybe not quite as much as Superman does, but it's not too far from it either. And Michael Giacchino's score, it is epic. I mean, you've heard it in the trailers. I know like a year or two ago, before I think they even dropped the first trailer for this movie, they had the band perform the theme for this. And it's one of my favorite themes in the entire MCU, like right up there with the Avengers even. It's just, I mean, it's iconic. The whole Fantastic Four just echoing, the orchestra, everything. It's beautiful. I love the soundtrack to this movie. And the visuals, I mean, overall, they're fantastic. You know, there's a couple shoddy shots of CGI. For example, Franklin is I think they had a real baby for a lot of it, but whenever he's doing stuff or he's on green screen, some of the details aren't that great, but overall, it's nowhere near too distracting in my opinion. And last but not least, there are just so many Easter eggs and nods to past MCU projects. There are, well, not past MCU projects, I'm sorry. That's what I'm used to saying. But there are so many Easter eggs and nods to Fantastic Four lore, the mythology, the early comics. And I'm very familiar with especially like the first few issues of Fantastic Four. And I've even read the one where it's like Galactus and Silver Surfer, which this movie definitely seemed to be loosely, but actually I would say this is a pretty faithful adaptation in a lot of other ways, more so than other, loose adaptations of comic storylines. But yeah, I mean, there's so many characters. In the first 5 minutes alone, they show the Fantastic Four more love than legitimately like anything Fox has done. I mean, they just made up for every mistake Fox has ever made with these characters in the first 5 minutes of this film. And, I guess one more thing I'll just point out here, this wasn't on my list, but something I feel like I should also bring up is the fact that this movie, it has humor, but once again, similar to Thunderbolts, and I'd say there's even less humor here than in Thunderbolts, to be honest with you. It lets the emotional moments breathe. It lets the moments that need to be exciting or emotional or whatever, it lets you seep in those emotions that aren't just humor based. And, even the humor that's in it, it's not that typical quippy Marvel humor. It's that family humor. It's that kind of like making jabs at each other like a loving family would. So yeah, I mean, overall, I don't really have any major negatives about this film, if we're being honest. I think it's an outstanding Marvel movie. I think it's a really great film in general. I think the cast is great. I think the action that's there is just really cool as well. Even the way it's filmed almost looks like many times throughout this movie, it felt like you were watching like a classic 1960s movie. Matt Shakman did such an amazing job, and you can just tell him, Kevin Feige, everyone that worked on this film loved these characters as much as we do and finally gave them the movie that they deserve. And yeah, also stay for the mid-credit scene, guys. No spoilers, but you're absolutely going to want to not miss it. It's one of those movies it's one of those mid-credit scenes, or post-credit scenes I should say, where absolutely without a doubt it's basically the end of the movie and you're going to want to see it for context of what's to come. That's all I'm going to say. There's a post-credit scene. Obviously stay if you're like me and you're a completionist, but it's nothing that I feel like you're missing out on if you decide not to stay for it. But yeah, all that to say, for negatives, I don't really have a lot. I just think this is probably a top 5 Marvel movie of all time for me. One could maybe even make the case that it's one of the most well-rounded Marvel films ever, if not the most well-rounded Marvel film ever. I mean, I would have to rewatch, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, all of those. But the ones that I would say are top 5, like your No Way Homes, your Deadpool and Wolverines, well, I might watch those more than I'd rewatch this. And I'd rewatch this movie several times, don't get me wrong. But like, as much as I would say that I would rewatch those films, I've also got to be honest with you, I would rewatch those movies over Fantastic Four. I'm losing my train of thought here, getting ahead of myself. But yeah, as much as I'd watch those over Fantastic Four, just because they're very rewatchable films, they play to a large demographic of people, they're great crowd pleasers and all, I just feel like Fantastic Four is one of the best actual movies that Marvel's ever given us. So yeah, with that said, guys, I will give this a 9.5 out of 10. It is definitely one of, if maybe even not my favorite film of this year. I think I may even like it more than Superman, and I loved Superman. But yeah, I mean, we're 3 and 4 this year for comic book movies. I would actually say 4 and 4 because I actually really enjoyed Captain America: Brave New World, but I know a lot of people didn't. But yeah, Thunderbolt, Superman, now Fantastic Four. I think Marvel's finding their footing, and I think the comic book genre as a whole, with DCU seemingly knocking it out of the park with Superman and their future projects that sound really exciting. And then you got Marvel that had Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, and they've got Spider-Man and Avengers coming in the pipeline. Yeah, we're eating good, guys, and I think the comic book genre is about to see a resurgence like we've never seen before, and I think these people that are saying, oh, the comic book genre is going to die, they're going to be obsolete here in a couple years. We are back, baby. But yeah, just let me know in the comments down below, guys, what you thought of this film. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you kind of more in the middle, or have you not seen it yet? Whatever you thought, just comment down below and let me know, guys. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you all later. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you liked what you've seen here and you want to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and check out my other videos in the link in the description down below, and I will see you all later.